As you probably know, we're from Verde. Come up, Sara. Come on up. We're from Verde, and I was going to talk about something else, but I'm going to talk about this right here. 2 days ago, I got a letter, and they said, could you look into this? And it wasn't in the Signal where I found the information. It was about the wastewater company in Santa Clara. Remember when it blew up and all that, and how it was eating the buildings? And it was just the chemicals. It was just, could you look into that? And they didn't give me a lot of information. They had a leak, and they couldn't tell me who it was. All they gave me was that. And so I typed in that, and I typed in Chiquita Canyon Landfill. And guess what happened on the day of the explosion when they showed up? There were 2 trailers for Chiquita Canyon Landfill already there. How many days, how many months, and how many years have they been going there every day, taking the sludge that's illegal to take? And here we are in Verde. We had 3 that died of cancer last month. We have 2 diagnosed in this month, and one of them on the imaginary marker that the Chiquita Canyon Landfill puts out and says, this marker, and this is how much it will go up every year, and he's diagnosed with cancer. At what point is this valley going to stand up and say something? We try to recall our own representative because he made a deal with the Cass State Council saying, we're going to give you 30% of the money that Verde gets. So when we went to this amazing researcher here, when we went, we found all these illegal receipts of the stuff they're taking. We went to Cass State and we said, please, don't write a letter to Antonovich begging not to take this. The one thing they said, they had a lot of reasons not to write the letter, but the one reason was, we'll lose the money. And there it was, we'll lose the money. Our own representative, of course, voted the same with them, so we went to go recall them. We got the signatures. We called Knight's office. Knight told us we had 770 registered voters. The recorder's office said 771. We get the signatures we need, and all of a sudden, Cass State says, well, they're both wrong. You have 1,180 voters. According to the website, there's only 1,200 legal voters in our town. We almost have 100% of them can vote. Wow, that's amazing. So we have nowhere to go. We have cried and we have begged. We recalled our great Camara. Now they made him vice president to show us, hey, Verde, shut up. You don't like him? He gave us 30%. We'll make him vice president. I made my presentation very short because she's going to tell you some amazing news that we do have coming up in June.
Okay, is that good? Thank you so much, Mr. Ferdman, for having us here. I appreciate it a lot. My name is Sara Sage. I've lived in Verde for almost 20 years. I moved to Verde as a student at Cal Arts. I moved from Ventura, and I've stayed in this valley and had a more similar feel to what I was used to in Ventura and Verde, so I kind of stayed there. It is really hard to explain the pressure that we're under without people living what we live through every single day in Verde. Real quickly, I know you guys are running really late, but we have a situation where we're not even able to get odor complaints verified because we don't have, we have an inspector from AQMD who comes out and ahead of time we have people in town are told to call the landfill if they smell anything. So we call the landfill gets notified, then they call AQMD, and by the time the inspector comes from Diamond Bar, it's about sometimes 3 hours later, they've already applied a odor neutralizer, and it just, people give up on calling. And this has been going on for a long time. One of the things that we've done is, I just want to go over what I'm going to be covering today. Is it the red button? I got it. Okay, got it. I'm going to cover the things that we have done for our town that have been our main concerns. When the county, we are an unincorporated area. So our mayor is Antonovich. We are not incorporated in Santa Clarita. That's why it's a unique opportunity for us to be speaking here. One of the main things that I complained about along with other residents was that when they issued an environmental impact report, and the notifications, the reports, they were in Spanish. people that were Spanish-speaking in Valverde had no idea that the landfill was even going to expand. So beside the fact that they were supposed to notify them, there's also the issue that they weren't, they're not supposed to be expanding. They made an agreement with the community of Valverde that they would stop at 23 million tons. I'm going to quickly go over the status of the draft environmental impact report that is on file with Department of Regional Planning and a current tonnage update. And also I'll try to go through this quickly, the continued absence of air quality data and monitoring and some of the new opportunities that we've had as a community since the last draft environmental impact report. So the reason we filed an environmental justice complaint, I just first want to say we did this with a group of people throughout Santa Clarita. One of the people who really did this was Scope. We have Lynn and we have Cam here today, who without them and another group called Citizens for Chiquita Canyon Landfill Compliance, that's the C4 CCLC, as well as Green Action, who works with Kettleman City. They're in San Francisco. They helped with that. And then individual Valverde residents. We filed a complaint with the Attorney General's office because they did not give us well, I should probably describe what environmental justice is. And the best description is what the EPA says is environmental justice is the fair treatment and meaningful involvement of all people regardless of race, color, national origin, or income with respect to the development, implementation, and enforcement of environmental laws, regulations, and policies. That also includes development. The reasons we filed were because, number one, I mentioned before, I put up here a little snippet of what the county notifications gave our Spanish speakers in Valverde. The highlighted area is what they had. You had 2 pages of English, and then it says, for more information, call this number in Spanish. So if you can't, why would you call? Why are you calling? What is this all about? The other reason was that the county has a policy where they allow a developer, meaning Chiquita, for instance, they allow the developer to do their own environmental impact report. The county doesn't do it for themselves. So even though this expansion, which is not talked about in Santa Clarita, it is authored by the developer, and it's also published by the county. So that's why we actually filed the complaint against the county, because that was a county publication. They state here, they did some funny analysis where they say, oh, okay, well, you're essentially 70% of people in Valverde are minority, but look over at LA County, they're 72%. We don't have highly educated, the minorities that live in Valverde, ethnic minorities, are Latino, mostly Mexicans. And these are actually this is a chart I made. This is what I submitted to the county for the environmental impact report. You can see there is, the Hispanic is the yellow. There's Valverde, Castaic, Santa Clarita, LA County, and California. And the white is in the blue, and all other multiple are in yellow. And African Americans, they list it as black on the census data. This was taken from the 2008-2012 American Community Survey estimates, which show that Valverde has quite a large population for of Latinos. That would mean that they would have had to actually comply with environmental justice laws. You can't put what they're proposing. I will cover this in just a second. What they're proposing is to put the largest landfill intake facility in the nation in Santa Clarita. And that doesn't just affect us. That affects every single person who drives on the 14, the 5, every single freeway here, because what goes through the landfill are transfer trailers. So a transfer trailer is a semi-truck. And they will have so many of these. This will be the next Puente Hills. They're suggesting to take double the amount of what they're taking now. Let me also go, this is language spoken at home, Spanish, there's Valverde, Castaic. So over 50% of people in Valverde speak Spanish at home. We filed the complaint because the majority language at home is Spanish, and nothing was, we requested multiple times that they did that. This right here is the only piece of information that was ever translated into Spanish. And it was taken, it was sent to all the homes in Valverde. It was double-sided, and it says, don't let them take your money, vote yes for Valverde tonight. Valverde sponsors all these, the landfill sponsors all these programs with the mitigation fees. And this we reported to the county, and one of the reasons we filed a complaint was because we had reported things like this and other issues to the county that we were being targeted because of our Latino residents who work hard, they pay taxes, and we have a lot, I have close to my neighbors. And in any case, that would be really quick. We filed the original complaint on June 2015 with the help of especially Scope. 2 members are here today. County Council answered on August 4th. We sent a rebuttal to their answer on November 12th. We still haven't heard. One of the things that we argued, they stated that we couldn't define a program, a tax-funded program, that it was a planning action and not a public program. But we were able to rebut with the fact that they had received a lot of money that came directly to regional planning from the state. And the other thing that we argued for was they brought up a legal precedent. It was a case in 2012, I believe. It was it's called Comunidad versus the LA City Council, and it challenged that you have to actually define the direct funding to that department if you're going to defend an environmental justice claim. And the reason this is important is because the most problematic, and it's increasing, a problem of discrimination, especially in the state of California, is environmental injustice. When you throw something away, it most normally will go to a sub-rural community where people don't have representation like you guys do have in California, Santa Clarita. And a lot of times these people speak Spanish, and it's easier to place and plan something like that. So one of the, there we go. Let me just go back real fast. So this is still out there. One of the things that we did was we challenged, especially with Lynn Planbeck's help, we challenged the Comunidad ruling, and we still have to hear back from the Attorney General. Now, one of the things is that this actually helps because the draft environmental impact report has already expired. I guess they're saying that a new draft environmental impact report will be issued shortly. And the reason we're here is to ask you for your help in submitting comments to this environmental impact report. And if you can't look through it, find a chapter that interests you or anything, especially the traffic issues, because those will impact Santa Clarita especially. There will be the equivalent of 400 trucks an hour on 24 hours a day on Interstate 5. So we're already in a non-attainment zone for Santa Clarita Valley. This is something that everybody that lives in Santa Clarita needs to be paying attention to. The other thing is that they have said that they will do a new air quality chapter, a new traffic chapter. This came directly from Department of Regional Planning on a phone call. A geology chapter, because we had a massive landslide on one of the barrier areas there. Hydrogeology and land use. And the reason for land use is because they're placing the Newhall Ranch project literally just hundreds of feet from the landfill perimeter. And that's in violation of LA County ordinance, so that had to be rewritten. The next thing I was going to do is the tonnage update. Chiquita is permitted for 23 million tons. When the new permit was reissued, I think it was in the middle of 1998, they have approximately used 22,681,537.76 tons of the 23 million. They are literally months away from their permit expiring. So time is critical. And the other thing I want to mention is that when we filed this complaint and we called up Apex Landfill in Las Vegas, they are the largest landfill in the nation. We asked them, we wanted to know how Chiquita compared to the other large landfills in the nation. And we asked them, how much do you receive per day? How much did you receive in a year? And they gave us a number, and we said, okay, well, what is your diverted amount? And they said, what does that mean? And I said, the amount that you divert and you count as recycling. And they said they had never heard of it. Now, on top of what they want to accept, which is 12,000 tons per day, which is an incredible amount. This is what what Puente Hills was accepting, the largest landfill before it closed recently. They want to also be able to divert not 40%, but an additional 75% of that 12 on top of that 12,000 tons per day. Things like auto shredder waste, shredded tires, contaminated soils. These are all considered beneficial reuse. And per the California 75% initiative, those materials will be encouraged to be accepted at Chiquita. So you take that 500 trucks per, what did you say, Steve? 400 trucks per hour. And then you add on top of that, that is an incredible traffic burden for this community in this valley. And this has always been framed, especially by our local Castaic Area Town Council, and as a Val Verde issue. This affects every single person in the valley. And that's why I'm so grateful for you for allowing us to speak tonight, because it means a lot that we're able to get the word out. So they currently divert up to 40% of their waste, and yeah. Oh, thank you, Lynn. Right, Lynn is absolutely right. This is the thing that it blows your mind. It's not diverted in the sense that they're putting it in a different space. They're putting it where they bury the rest of the day's trash. They get to count it as recycled, diverted, in that portion, which they actually receive a very high premium for. Right. They cover that with the trash. They cover the diverted materials on the active landfill face. It makes no difference really at the end of the day because it's being buried with the rest of the trash. 75% on top of the permitted amount would be able to be taken. So that's more waste than Puente Hills accepted. So, yeah. Real quickly, I'm going to try to get over this. We also fought the environmental justice issue, which is something I deeply care about, because I believe that no matter what language you speak or what race you are, you have the same right as any other person to breathe clean air, have clean water and clean soil. When they did the environmental impact report, they took air quality sampling from Burbank, from Newhall, and from Reseda. They did not do any ambient air quality monitoring in Val Verde. In fact, we haven't had that in almost 2 decades. So we don't even know what the risk is. What I have done and other people have done, the Val Verde Community Advisory Committee, which is run by the county, has recently approved limited air quality monitoring. The other thing is that I found an organization called Public Lab, and they are a collective of scientists. What they do is they help to fill deficits of knowledge. So where there is a community where there's a local polluter, they will go in and do environmental testing and perhaps audits and so forth. And what they do is they make it so it's public knowledge and it's something that can be legally defensible. And they have been working in the Gulf oil spill. They're a national organization. They do TED Talks. Last month, they announced that they had chosen Val Verde and Chiquita for their annual event, which was a really big deal for us because we don't have we don't have any information. So the other reason I'm here is to also request support for the public lab program that will be happening in the first weekend of June. They call it a barn raising, meaning that what they do is we'll have about 50 to 100 scientists in Santa Clarita and in Val Verde doing air quality testing. They also do things from afar. They can also audit the tonnage, what has been reported versus what is visibly available on satellite photo. They have highly sophisticated software to do that. They've done this in the past. And one of the things that they need is a space that would house 50 people and also have breakout rooms where you could divide the area into 3 spaces for different projects. Grocery store donations, and anybody who's interested, just sending emails, being involved, and also monetary donations for the project. So I guess to sum it up, we're mostly requesting people get involved in the environmental impact report process.
We'll need housing.
Oh,
So
yeah, there's that too.
I got 2 rooms, but there's 100 scientists maybe if we're lucky. We're going to need housing. What I didn't cover was, you know what? We fall on deaf ears all the time. I went to Santa Clarita, and why do they keep saying it's out of our jurisdiction? It's out of our jurisdiction. I go home on the computer. It's out of our jurisdiction because they've all taken money from the landfill. If it's out of your jurisdiction, why are you taking their money? And nice taking money. Everybody's taking money from the landfill, so everybody writes these great letters of approval. They're such a great company. They're such a good neighbor, but they're poisoning us. But it's okay as long as you give us money. So, thank you, Ralph.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So let's